Okay, good evening, everybody, and welcome to TAT Chat number 94 with myself and Nick.
Hey man.
How you doing? We've started on time, I think, today, so hopefully that's a good start. Um,
And the
and
notifications come through at my end already. They're working these days.
that's really good. That's good to know. Um, it's
So
been
how are
very
you?
flaky recently, hasn't it? The old
Yeah,
notification
they're
system.
rubbish most of the time.
Yeah.
How's your day
Um,
been?
Oh, it's been okay. It's been okay. We've already got 20 odd people watching, 30 odd people watching now. Quite a few people in the chat already as well. So we'll say a few hires in a moment. But yeah, it's been good. I've been quite good today. I think not worked as hard. But I've still got quite a few bits to be getting on with. I've been trying to dig out stuff that's been laying around for ages that I should have listed a long time ago, and you
Yeah,
know,
the electronics you were talking about. Is that what?
yeah. I mean, we can. There's a little topic in that actually. We could talk about. I listed. We'll talk about it later. But I listed and sold a. Can't remember what it was now. An Atari, but I sold it untested. And on the TAT Chat group, when I shared the sale, I think people saw the video with the sales video I did with Beck. And I
Yeah.
shared that I'd sold this Atari without testing it, and people were like, Tom, especially Tom the English Vicar, and a few others were like, oh, that's just painful. Brian, Electronic Firing Squad, was in there as well, and he was like, that's just lazy. You should have gotten that tested. And I thought it'd make quite an interesting topic to touch on, actually, that how much time you decide to devote to different things
Yeah,
as
it can feel like a real time sink when you're testing electronics, and it feels like you're not getting anywhere. I do
well.
understand that the thought process of just I want to get it on, I want to get it out the door, get it listed. And also,
Yeah.
when I think was the reason that you needed to buy a part or something, wasn't it?
Yeah, I didn't have I've probably got parts somewhere, but I think I probably would have needed a power supply, and I would have needed to have, I mean, I think I could have used a universal one. I've got universal ones, but I would have had to somehow dig out one of those old school RF cables, the ones which have got like an RCA connector on one end, like a normal phone node connector, but the other end is like an aerial cable, like you get on the
Yeah.
old consoles. I'm sure I've got them somewhere, but just the thought of having to
Well,
root through it, and
what do you think was the difference between what you managed to get sold as untested and what you might have got? That's what you need to think about.
yeah, I think there would have
How
been
much
obviously
did you lose by not testing it? That's the question.
probably a few quid.
Oh
I'm
yeah,
sure. I'm probably sure I lost maybe 30 quid, maybe.
that's not major then.
Yeah, it's not huge, but I think I got pretty good money considering. I mean, I paid a tenner and sold it for 70, so untested, so it's cool. How about yourself? How's your day been today?
Well, we were just saying I've been finishing off my what I think is my final FBA shipment, but I did just before we went live find some more stuff. But yeah, I'm pretty much done for FBA now, which is a nice feeling because that's my work done for Amazon, and now I can actually concentrate on eBay, which our numbers have dropped off a cliff because I've been doing this.
And
And so
and
yeah,
plus doing the same thing as well can get quite tiring, can't it? Like you need to vary it a little, and I think eBay allows you to do that, doesn't it? Because you can list different things, whereas on Amazon you're pretty niched in terms of you can only list in the categories that you're like ungated in.
yeah, it's been all right. But then I'm a crazy whatever, and I enjoy it. So
Yeah, you like sending stuff in boxes and whatever. We've got 45 people watching, or so 48 now. We'll say a few highs. BCP was in the chat. Southwest Sellers, Chelsea, doing it yourself lifestyle. Ryan, Jason Entwistle, Electronic Firing Squad, aka Brian. Panzer's in there as well. J Resells, Stu Mandry as well. So Peter Cummins, Twin Red Dragons, Matthew Williams. So hi to everybody. Um, let's have a look. Just scroll down a bit, see if there's any early questions or anything. Lisa's in the chat. Lisa joined us. Peter Ray's joined us as well. Anne Hamilton. It's difficult to keep up with the names. Indie Chick. Sue's Pile of Shame as well. J Ben, Phoebe Finn Fashion Plus, George Ross is in here, John Brady's in here as well, Matthew Williams. So lots of people. Thank you everybody for joining us. George Ross says, really looking forward to the Thursday guest chat with Craigslist Hunter Pete. And
Yes.
yeah, that's going to be epic. Do you want to have a little chat about that?
Yeah, well, I messaged him. It's odd because Pete is somebody that I really look up to. I have so much respect for what he's achieved, for what he does, both on YouTube and, of course, as an epic reseller. His knowledge is legendary. And I just never reached out to him to come on, I think because I'm a bit starstruck. But I did manage to chat to him on a couple of the reseller six-pack shows when I was doing those. So that kind of broke the ice. And I just messaged him last week and he said, yeah, totally up for it. And so, yeah, Thursday at 6 is the plan. He was going to go fishing this weekend, so we were going to do it on Wednesday, but he said, nah, I'm there Thursday now, so it's all good.
Sweet, sweet.
So if you guys don't know who Pete Craigslist Hunter is, just do a search of Craigslist Hunter and check out this guy. He sells so much fascinating stuff. He's got endless knowledge. He's got a bricks and mortar store, which is epic in itself, and then his eBay turnover is
insane.
He's just legendary in the world of resellers.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking like what 30K a month odd sometimes, aren't you? Plus,
mind blowing.
Yeah.
So I mean, I can't wait to find out a bit about his background and how he got to where he is today, and that's going to be cool. And definitely. Also, yesterday I was on. I filmed a chat with Steve Rakin for his channel. I'm not sure when he's going to make that public, but I'll share that in the TAT Chat when that comes out.
Superb, superb. Right, Niall Guyver says, I bet you say my name wrong. Haha, well, I didn't. Because normally I think I say Niall Gulliver. I don't know why, but it's Niall Guyver or, but yeah. Okay. I don't know. I've just realized. Right. Electronic Firing Squad says, Z, I'd have sent you one free, of course. Any cable you ever need, my friend. We're looking at Brian's stash of goods. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if you have a few spare cables knocking around. Appreciate that, but I was happy just to sell that as it was. Okay, what's Z and Nick this year? Did you find things you didn't realize you picked up months or years ago? Yeah, did you find anything that you had lying around recently?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Recently, going through all this stock that most of it I'd forgotten I had, like toys and games that I'd purposefully put away for this time of year, and pulling it out. I don't remember where I bought it. I don't remember, what a lot of it owes me. A lot of it's quite a surprise when you find it. And when we were in the loft, it was the same. A lot of that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, these. I forgot about these. And wow.
I think that kind of leads us on nicely to the title, really, which is end of another boot sale season. Because I had like a similar experience when I went into my shed, and you just find things that shouldn't be there. You should have listed this stuff a long while ago, and for whatever reason you didn't at the time. I'm sure it seemed like a good idea, but you keep buying and you keep piling stuff on top of stuff. And it's nice when you do go through a rummage and you can come out with some really nice items. I mean, just found this in the shed as well, which is really cool. It's like a little Amiga game, but it's a Dungeons and Dragons. It looks pretty cool. I don't know if it's worth much. I've got a feeling I'd listed this yonks ago, and then I took it down ages ago with a bunch of other games, and they just went in the shed. And I've just seen it. I'm like, that should be listed. That will sell. Do you know what I mean? It's Dungeons and Dragons. It's mint complete.
That's the sort of thing as well. A lot of that sort of stuff goes international. If you do your own international shipping on stuff like that, like Europeans love that sort of stuff.
Definitely, yeah. I remember when I first got like a haul of Amiga stuff, it went all the way to Sweden. This I pulled out because this made me laugh. Do you remember when you guys came up and visited?
Yeah.
I bought this from car boot sale.
Oh, was that the one you bought that morning?
Yeah.
For like,
I found it.
Something,
four quid. Yeah, and I said 3 because yeah, 4 quid. It's been in the shed. That's a Pioneer CD recorder for those of you that don't know. if working, I've seen people get 100 quid for them. So
Wow.
again, it
That's the
shouldn't.
thing, isn't it? I mean, you've got a couple of grand's worth of electronics probably just stacked in that shed, probably in the same position it was when I was at your place, just
Covered in spiders and yeah, I mean,
spider webs.
well, the thing is, it's a bit worrying because it's not the best place to store things
No, I
because
just thought that actually, because it's not
yeah,
exactly, it could get damp in there quite.
condensation, yeah, you could get bugs crawling inside. And well, I mean, and I actually, the reason why I've started to kind of pull it all out now and just get it sorted is because I actually had a VCR that I thought I was going to have to just sell as faulty, because when I put the tape in, it, you could hear the sound, but it seemed like the video heads were misaligned or they'd just gone. And I think it might have just been condensation because after the video player was left on for a couple of hours, and then I tried the video cassette in it again. Picture came out mint perfect. So I'm guessing the storage was the cause of that. So quite important
Yes,
when
maybe.
you're storing these things to do that properly.
I just saw a question that
Yeah,
might be interesting to touch on before we go into the
sure,
topic.
sure.
Mickey Moose said, question, hi Nick and Z, I've been buying £1 items to sell for a tenner for a while on eBay. Now I feel ready to up my game and move on to £10 items to sell for 100. Any suggestions how? The thing is, if there was a solution that was as easy as ABC, we'd all be doing it. The trouble with that, it's a great idea, and I myself want to move into higher ticket items, but you've got to be able to source them, and that's the conundrum, isn't it? Where do you find those higher ticket items regularly?
Yeah. Um it is. I think you have to adapt to like your situation. And again, in a way that does lead into the topic a bit, because we're talking about, the end of another boot sale season. A lot of people when they first start reselling, will will have seen the boot sales as the main source possibly of their inventory, alongside charity shops. And you've got to look at boot sales for what they are. We all get treasures, like for example what I showed, like that CD recorder. You will get treasures where you pay like £4 and potentially you could get up to £100 for something like that. So that's great, but that doesn't happen. That's like the minority. If you think about what a boot sale actually is, it's people getting rid of what they think is their junk. And I think that since obviously the advent of the internet, people being encouraged very heavily by not just eBay now, you've got Spock advertising and Facebook advertising, letting people know they can sell their stuff. They've now got an unparalleled knowledge of what their stuff is worth compared to what they did have. So boot sales are going to become, I think, as time goes on, places where you're only going to find the lower value items. Yeah, you'll get the odd one that slips through the net. There's always like an what's that saying? The something that proves the rule, like
The exception that
the
proves
exception that proves the
yeah.
rule. Yeah, you always
But
get
would
the
you
exception.
say that auctions are the next best alternative, or the kind of step up from casually going to boot sales?
I think there's you've got to look at it. I like I'm talking about terms. I love using all these terms, don't I? Like like these kind of sayings. And another one that springs to mind is low hanging fruit. I mean, I've heard Chad use it a lot of times,
Yeah.
and low hanging fruit is a good way to look at things. Um, Look at what you're doing and look at the barrier to entry to it. Is it really easy? Is it really accessible? If it is, then the chances are um, it's going to be super competitive and you're going to be less likely to find the kinds of £10 items that you want to sell for 100. I mean, I think that's going to be hard no matter where you go. I think that kind of return is going to be inconsistent at best. I think more realistically you could probably find regularly £10 items that you sell for maybe 30 to 40. That might be worth doing, and if you look at the profit you get after your fees from that, that's going to be nice if you can do that as a regular thing. But looking for 10 to 100, I think is you'd have to be quite lucky to come across a source of inventory like that.
But also, I think just educating yourself in lots and lots of different niches. There's still so much stuff out there that is untapped by the majority of resellers.
Yeah.
I was sharing with you earlier, I won't go into what they were, but 4 board games that I picked up, 50p to £1 each, and I'm
Yeah.
going to gross 125 at Amazon without any problem at all. And it's
Wow.
things like that that I know board games get a bad rap sometimes because I don't know why. But there are an awful lot that are a waste of money and a waste of time and a waste of space. But if you learn that niche and you learn what's worth doing, and then it's the same with clothing, it's the same with, I don't know, crockery, electronics, obviously, that we've touched on. So if you can educate yourself, you don't have to go into massive depth, but if you have a little bit of knowledge in it, enough to feel comfortable experimenting, it really, really helps out. I just noticed you got a
Yeah, Brian, Electronic Firing Squad, has super chatted $10. Thank you, Brian. Towards a box of K cups for your Keurig instant coffee machine, which he said tongue in cheek, to give you that boost of caffeine needed to fully test your electronics. Yep, I'm getting a bit of a ribbing for not fully testing my electronics. To be fair, I do normally, but I'm going through a bit of like a hissy fit or something. Like certain things I've got no patience for at the moment. I don't know why. There's no good reason for it. I just wanted it gone. I've done the same with a Spectrum. You know that Spectrum I showed you? I found a Spectrum.
Oh, yeah.
I just
You didn't
listed
have
it.
any leads with that, did you, though?
No, I'm like not even gonna bother trying to source or anything for that. That's just
And,
gone.
and to be honest, with that
Yeah.
example, by the time you've sourced leads and spent an extra X, Y, and Z amount, you've got to factor in how many hours, how much time and effort to source them, the cost of the bits you've got to buy. Are you adding that much value to the Spectrum?
Not enough.
So
Exactly.
I'm not sure that was a big faux pas.
Exactly.
And it gets out the door and it
it
clears that
does
space. It clear, you can move on. So
completely. I mean, getting back to the that whole kind of value thing, and you, like you mentioned, auctions, next step up, you definitely will get a better quality of item at auction. I think that's safe to say. You will have to pay more. I think the problem is it's quite a big jump from car booths. In a way, charity shops are a good bridge between car boots and auctions. I would actually say car boots are your low hanging fruit because there's no real risk attached. Most people are asking such small money for things. You can safely just aim for the low value stuff and make make your 50p to a tenner or a pound to a tenner items. You can do that. Charity shops don't really give you that as much now, do they? Because a lot of them won't sell anything for less than 3, 4, 5 quid now.
Yeah, prices in general have gone up in charity shops, and they are starting to educate themselves a lot more.
Yeah,
on what's worth money and what people are looking for.
So in a way, when the car boots have come to an end, if you're lucky enough that you've got ones which run all year round, great. But for a lot of people, car boots will have come to an end. Ben's last video, he mentioned that I think it was the last car boot he's going to for the season. It seemed like it was dying down for him. When that happens, it's a really good opportunity for you to get out to your charity shops and to start taking those taking those risks with having to spend more money, being forced to spend that much more, being forced to spend £10 on a pair of trousers in the hope of making 50 from them, as opposed to finding the same trousers for like 2 quid at a car boot.
I think it's worth mentioning actually, as the season, I mean, I feel a bit of a fraud because I've not been doing boot sales for a few months now, and we're not getting involved that way, but we've done it for years and years. As the season starts to dwindle, there's still some epic things to be had. And only yesterday, I think I was looking on Facebook, I think it was Martin Holgate found a GameCube with about 40, 50 games. And, that was this right at the end of the season, dark, cold, damp on the floor. The stuff is still out there. So don't automatically think they're dwindling, I won't bother, because a lot of the dealers do stop going. So there's your way in. That's to these.
If they're still running, if they're still running, go till the end, definitely.
But that pickup we had, it's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, that reminds me actually. I remember like going to a car boot. This was when I was down south in December time, where there was like 1 or 2 aisles, And one week, I mean, I went there. I used to drive like over 40 minutes, and there were times where I'd get there and literally there'd be no point because only about 3 or 4 cars would pitch up. However, there was a time where I picked up a Mint Getopoly board game. Then there was a time where I picked up a NES for 20 quid. I picked up a Spectrum for 2 quid, which I sold for like was it a Spectrum or something along those lines, which was worth good money. Went for over 100, and because there was no competition, because like you said, a lot of the other dealers had decided, it's the end of the season.
So swings and roundabouts, and this goes back to like things that if people are going to be put off because the weather's a bit iffy, go anyway.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If they're dwindling and there's not many stalls, that might be your chance to pick up that bargain, because hardly any of the dealers are bothering to go because they think it's a waste of time. But as you just said, you found some of your best pickups.
Amazing, yeah.
At the end of the season, so it is still worth going. But you're right, they are slowly closing down.
But see it as an opportunity to start learning to take the higher cost risks that of items that you get at charity shops. I mean, just today in the TAT Chat, I saw someone post they picked up for like 8 quid this most amazing BMW Motorsport range leather jacket, like their M series of cars where they've got like those 3 color bands.
Right.
So they have their 3 series like normal cars, and they have their motorsport series. This jacket looks so cool. I don't know what they're going to be able to get for it or anything like that, but I'm sure it's going to be worth some severe cash to a BMW M series fan. And they got that for like 8 quid. Now 8 quid to some of you is just going to seem that's a good buy, but to some of you out there who are only been going to car boots, £8 from a pound, 8 times as much as you normally spend on a jacket or an item of clothing, it can seem like a little leap, but it's worth practicing and spending more, and hopefully getting higher quality items, and then that in turn will hopefully ready you for auctions, because in auctions there's 2 ways of doing auctions. I mean, some people go to auctions and they'll buy the job lots, won't they?
Yeah.
Which even at auction only cost a couple quid. So you could just end up staying in your comfort zone, spending a couple of quid and just getting job lots. Now, sometimes you can get some really amazing things in those. But most of the time, I'm guessing they're not going to be packed full of, hundreds of pounds of items. That's going to be the exception.
Yeah, I get the impression with job lots, it's like a lucky dip thing. I've only dabbled in that a long, long time ago. And the only times I have, it's because I knew there was a gem in there. I wasn't buying them blindly, which I think perhaps some people do. And then it's a bit of a lottery. And you go home, you do your research, and you hope to find 2 or 3 little gems in there. But I was going to say, the sort of downside, if you like, of certainly with charity shops and to a certain extent auctions, is the time sink element. If you're going to go hunting around charity shops, let's say you're going to go out and you're going to try and hit 10 or 15, that's a whole morning, if not a whole day gone.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of time. And with auctions, when we used to do auctions, I'd sit there for a whole day on a Sunday one I used to go to.
Yeah.
That many auctions. I mean, you can bid from home remotely, but then you've still got to be sat in front of your computer for all that time.
Yeah. I think you have to...
You have to factor in how much time is involved, and with charity shops, you've got to travel a lot. So there's downsides,
pros and cons.
All of it.
Definitely pros and cons, isn't there? I mean, but the thing is, you can make it worthwhile with auctions in a way if you're prepared to go big. Now, I don't want to encourage people just to willy-nilly spend and waste money, but if you can train yourself to spend money, that's when you can make decent returns. But be aware that whatever it is that you're looking at, you're not going to be the only one that knows that it's worth money. So if you spot something like that's worth a few hundred quid, people are going to bid. Like, say if something can sell on eBay, you've seen completed listings, will sell for 400 quid. Don't be surprised if you're paying near 200, a bit more than 200, maybe even close to 300. And that's the mental side of it, where are you prepared to spend £300 on something to make £100 profit before fees, and plus the risk of loss, damage, whatever? Are you prepared to do that? If you are, then there's loads of those items. That's when it becomes like consistent. Do you know what I mean? Like you can spend, I reckon you could every week spend 200 quid at a boot fair on an item and sell that item for 400 plus, you know, 400 or 500 quid. There's probably an item in most auctions like that, but are you prepared to spend 200 to make like the extra 100, 200, but then, you know, you've got to take your fees out of that and then be risking all your eggs in that one basket as well. So those are things.
The other thing I was going to say, talking about the amount of time, you've probably had this where you see a couple of lots at the auction, you think there's money in that, you set your price in your mind, you sit there for 3 hours waiting for your bloody lot to come up, and then lo and behold, there's two people in there that actually want it and they're end users, and they bid it up to what you were hoping to get on eBay, and you think, well, that's great, I've just sat here for 2 or 3 hours waiting for that to come up, and I was blown out of the water within 5 minutes. You're like, oh, I'm out then.
That's happened so many times you won't believe. And in a way, it's worth bearing in mind that a lot of auctions now do offer, like Nick has mentioned there, online bidding. And the online bidding means, like you said, there are international buyers even, and often end users that you're bidding against. So
yeah,
even auctions are now becoming more difficult. I mean, you just have to accept, you know, you can't ignore the internet. You know, we all use it, we make our living off of it, so it'd be naive to think that it hasn't affected other things. Now, there used to be a time where all auctions were just in the room, that's it. Now, there are still some auctions out there which are in the room, but they're dwindling in number. And you might think, oh, if I can find one, I'll have hit the jackpot. Well, no, not really, because if you're a house clearance guy that's got this cool stuff that you want to shift off at auction, are you going to take it to the auction down the road where you only get 20 people in the room that normally don't bring more than 20 quid in loose change with them? Or are you going to take it to the auction house that maybe charges you 5% or even 10% more, but offers a really slick online bidding site with a client list where people from all over the world bid on these items? You know, so even if you do find an auction where they don't offer online, then the chances are the items you find at that auction won't be so good. So it's not to, like, you know, everything has a plus and a minus, and I think it's that thing of adapting, isn't it? I mean, we always talk about this as resellers, you've got to adapt, and one of the ways that I think I found has worked really well, you know, you've benefited from this as well, is by networking, finding opportunities outside all of that, getting in even earlier in the food chain, and going for, like, you know, big hauls.
Yeah, challenge yourself, put yourself out there, talk to people. It does sound simple, but talking to people at boot sales, getting that conversation going. Like, I mean, just the simple example was when I picked up a couple of those spray guns off this woman, and she had a few bits and bobs, and I said, have you got any more of this stuff? And just because of that one question, sparking up a conversation, later that night, I was in the woman's shed surrounded by valuable tools. And I was like, hello. And that wouldn't have happened if I hadn't have had the foresight to think, okay, she's clearly selling stuff that it didn't look right. It wasn't really, it was a lovely lady, and she was selling, you know, builder's tools and garage tools and stuff, and it's like, okay, what's going on here? Have you got any more of this? Oh yeah, I've got loads. I couldn't lift half of it, so heavy, blah blah blah. And you're in. So yeah, and that's how I got that huge van load of stuff as well, just from saying to the guy at the boot sale, how much more have you got, because I'm interested in everything.
See, that sounds so simple what you've just said there, you know, that, you know, you just talk to them, right? You just talk to them.
But it's not necessarily easy. That's not really my comfort zone. I mean, it may look like I'm a very outgoing person on here totally in my comfort zone, but I'm not really. And you have to just go for it.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Think about how many of those conversations you have to have before you'd actually come across somebody. As well, because it's all very well being confident as well. You know, you could be the most confident person in the world, but are you also mentally prepared for the dead ends, as it were? So, you know, you might see someone, we've all done this, haven't we? So you've seen someone with like cool retro games or really nice shoes or clothes or tools, and you ask them, oh, do you have any more? Most of the time, no, mate, it's all gone. That's all I had, isn't it? That's what you're going to be. That's the response you're going to get the majority of times, like 99%. But you're looking for that one time, like you've just shown, Nick, where the guy goes, "Yeah, actually, I've got like a garage full or a warehouse full."
There used to be a little saying. I'm going to butcher it. Something to do with an old salesman's motto, which every no takes you one step further to nearer to a yes. So every time somebody says no, 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 you go, yes, that's another one done. Right, I'm nearer my yes now.
I'm getting there, yeah. And
it's a spin on a negative. So it's like, yeah, this guy hasn't got anything that I'm interested in. This guy won't give me his number. And this guy, it's like, wow, I'm getting closer to the yes. It's going to happen.
I think, yeah, exactly. I think it's a lot about it is the attitude side of it, isn't it? And then I think I found that those methods, like, the best hauls I've had this year have all been, there's been 3 situations in total this year, all of which have provided me with my most profitable items by a country mile. Beats anything I've picked up at any auction, beats anything I've picked up at any car boot, just because of the amount of stock and the
what was the key to getting those? Was it putting yourself out there? Was it
well,
what was the key?
Obviously I saw I'd seen Chad talk about it a few times. He's been a big proponent of business cards and being the guy. Being the guy that I like that idea. Being the guy that people kind of contact. So he recently had that amazing Vietnam haul where his local charity shop contacted him.
Oh yeah,
for it.
People contact him out of the blue because people talk about him and pass his cards on, and
exactly. And I'd seen, obviously I'd seen yourself get this epic haul. Caroline had Mrs. M. She got that amazing BHS haul going, and obviously you do start thinking, don't you? Like, you got to look at things a bit differently, and you have to just try things a bit differently. Because I think when we first came up here and we were having a few really tough months, I think it was because I was just doing what I'd been doing down south, moved it up north, and all of a sudden it wasn't working as well as it was before. So it just, I just look, it's funny how you look for things and you see them, like it's that whole sales type training thing where they say to you, look for the color red, and then all of a sudden you start seeing red around the room, or they say look for blue, and all of a sudden you start focusing in on things that are blue, and even trying to make things blue that aren't blue, because
I think also what you just described is you put yourself in the mindset that I'm going to do this. If an opportunity comes up, you got some inspiration from what others had maybe achieved, and you said, that's where I want to go. So you'd already got the mindset. So when the opportunity was there, like with the RC stuff, you saw that and thought, okay, this is one of them. Yeah, I'm going to make this one of those opportunities.
Half of it's, you're right, actually. Half of it's just recognizing these opportunities. Yeah, like
totally. I think you said that there were obviously resellers going in and snapping up bits in the shop.
Yeah.
Why none of those went, I'll buy it?
Hold on. Yeah, exactly. Hold on.
I love saying that. I've not done it that many times. It's not like I'm doing it on a weekly basis, but the old how much for everything line, it's so exciting doing that. It really is.
And, appreciate that a lot of it comes down to how much cash you've got available to invest. Now, I took a risk. I didn't have the money just sat there. I just didn't, I had to take a working capital out for it, which we're paying back as we sell. But once you've got the confidence to recognize these things, you will see the working capital just as a tool, which is what it is. It's a tool there to allow you to get into these deals. And then it just becomes a matter of conviction, because then you've suddenly put yourself, it's about putting yourself in a position that not many people are, because, again, I know Malinky says, can we stop talking about low-hanging fruit? It's rude. It is about looking at, what's easy and achievable for most people, and then trying to do the things which aren't as easy and achievable, because that automatically then puts you in a better spot. Even if you take it to a smaller scale, like Nick mentioned with the car boot sales, right? Everyone's happy to go to a boot sale when it's 25 degrees out and the sun's out, and you know there's going to be loads of families at a bank holiday weekend. You know there's going to be loads of regular families selling their stuff. It's easy to go to a car boot then. When it's not easy is when it's been drizzling a little bit. It's -3 on, January the whatever. You've just, finished a rough, Christmas and New Year period, and you're getting up at 4 or 5 a.m. on a Sunday, knowing that you're going to go and see about one line of cars, about maybe 7 or 8 cars. That's when it's hard, but that's good because lots of other people will be finding it hard and they might not go.
Yeah, I think in general, if something is difficult, if something is awkward, if something is complicated, whether that's in the sourcing or the listing or the packaging, we've talked about getting into big bulky stuff, because not everybody wants to deal with a massive stereo system. That market is wide open. Yeah. Likewise, to some extent with some of the board games I just mentioned, they take a lot of time and effort to sort and photograph well, and like for you, that's a nightmare. That means there's less people doing it, and the market is wide open in some instances. So whenever you see something that's got barriers to entry, or is a pain in the ass, or it's hard to source, or going back to the halls, the example of the halls is, how many people have got the nerve to rent a van, drive halfway across the country as you did, to pick up something, not really knowing how much? I know you roughly worked it out.
But we hadn't even made a deal the first time we went down. We just went down because we knew that the manager was going to be there and we were hoping to catch her. We didn't know that, we knew that we could get down there and it'd be like, oh no, she's not in today.
But and then we're doing is narrowing your competition down to next to no people who have got the nerve to say, I'll buy the lot. And to her, that was probably music to her ears, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, it was.
Hell yeah. So you made yourself, you cut out all the competition by saying, I'll take the lot. What's the price? And that's what you've got to do. And I'm still chuffed to bits at that haul. I would have loved that.
I'm loving it myself. I mean, just today, just sold a couple of pieces. It's one of those situations where you sell one piece for like 10, 12 quid and another piece for like 6 quid. And they're only small amounts. But then when you see that remaining quantities like 40, you're like, okay. Yeah.
Well, that's it. And you've got like another 1,000 unlisted or something. You think, oh yeah, numbers do add up.
Yeah. So it's I mean, I think it's an interesting way of thinking, because you're right. The more you think about it, the more it applies to pretty much every part of what you do as a reseller. Or anything for that matter. The harder something is, the fewer people will want to do it.
It's like the phrase, if it was easy, everyone would be doing it. And it's so true. What the stuff that is easy, it's like quite often I get messages on my YouTube channel. Have you ever thought about importing like phone cases from Alibaba? Yeah. Well, no, because everyone and his mother's doing it, and the market is saturated and there's no money in it. You want to do the things that not everybody is doing. Yeah. Because that's where there's a gap, hopefully, if you can find those things.
Yeah.
There's loads of good chat going on actually before.
Yeah, let's just scroll down and have a look at Nearly Newcastle says, I picked up a working Amstrad CPC 464 and a box 64K Toshiba computer last week for 30 quid at the car boot. So there's still stuff out there. Definitely echoing that, go till the bitter end, and you'll still find things.
Yeah, Matt Morris says, I live in Stirling, Scotland. My car boots are all year, even when it's raining, as it always rains. Good old Scotland.
Matt Morris says, I'm going to my local auction for the first time soon. Brilliant. Always good to try that. And he also mentioned Gumtree makes up for bad car boot weeks. Yeah, definitely. There's plenty of platforms out there. It's just a case, I think, like we're saying, of remembering that the more convenient a platform is, the harder I suppose it's going to be to consistently source inventory, for example. So a lot of people know Facebook, right? And so Facebook Marketplace is known by everyone. It's very, most people spend a lot of time on Facebook, so it's very easy to join your local for sale group or buying group. Or if you're interested in a certain hobby, it's very easy to just go into the search box for your hobby, and you will find a selling group related to it, whether that be RCs or video games or whatever, right? But by its nature, it also means it's highly competitive, isn't it? So in terms of what's available to you, you've got to be super on the ball to get hold of this stuff.
Sorry, just having a drink.
That's right. That's right.
I was just reading. Do you remember how to find where your packaging discount is on eBay? Sue was asking, where do you find that discount voucher? I can't remember. There is a place.
I found it in my emails.
Yeah, you will be sent an email.
Yeah. Yeah, I think if you just search your email, just type in eBay voucher, and they normally send them out at the end or the beginning of the month, like right at the end or right at the beginning. So in that kind of 28th to the first type situation. So if you just search your emails, just type in like eBay voucher, it should have the email, which should have the code in there, and then you can see if you can use it. Fabian asks, what happened to the large RC you bought for £300? Well, I sold the transmitter for it, which got me back 170. I sold the receiver for about 30, so that was like 200. And I've got the RC myself now, but it's just sat there. I could sell it, but I'm not sure I'm going to. All right, just scrolling down. Westgate Primary says some auction houses charge more for online bidding. Our local one is an extra 3%. Yeah, exactly. I think there's another example of if you put in a bit more effort, even in an already difficult situation, such as an auction house which offers online bidding, you've got a choice of either being someone that's bidding online or someone that's bidding in the room. Now, there's a number of differences apart from the cost. You're right. They will charge you more money, sometimes 3%, sometimes 5%. So a significant amount to have the privilege of bidding online. So if you're bidding online, you're not going to be able to bid as highly as someone that's in the room because of that cost. Then if you live far away and you're bidding online, you've got potential delivery charges. And the other thing is, sometimes when you're in the room, the increments are nicer or fairer to you. And I've seen it's happened to me plenty of times when I've bid online, where the increments that they offer in the room, and they'll sometimes bring the hammer down on bid increments that aren't available when you're bidding online. So when you're bidding online, it tends to start off at like £3, £5, £8, but sometimes they'll get the option when they'll be like, when they're dropping by £1 or whatever, sometimes the auctioneer will make a deal with whoever's in the room. There's a bit more flexibility to the people that are in the room. Definitely. And there's definitely an advantage to that. And also
because they're the ones who made the effort to get off their butt and drive down there, so I think they should have a tiny bit of advantage.
And they definitely do. Yeah. And not to mention, I don't know whether auction houses do this on purpose, but the photos are often terrible. So photos on the websites are just rubbish. So most often, if you're, especially when you're bidding on job lots, people that are there are always going to have the advantage of being able to rummage and look through carefully at what is being auctioned off. So
absolutely, yeah, because there's no comeback at an auction. I'm way behind the chat, but Peter Cummins says Nick was in a woman's shed with a valuable tool. Rumors will fly now about that one.
Oh, that's funny. That's true. Yeah, I'm way behind. God, it's just I think the chat just what did it just created itself. Like it just blew up.
What?
it's just gotten big all of a sudden. I don't know. It wasn't like Ryan says, question, what's more important to you guys, time or money? Auctions, I bid online and get what I get. Testing stuff isn't for me either. Imagine how much time a year you could be testing stuff. Even if okay. Even the car boot run is a time drain.
Yeah, definitely. I think for the amount of time I put in, if I spend a day car boot sailing or morning, I think I'd get a lot more stuff than I would have sat at an auction. But then again, I could get a couple of higher value items at auction, a lot less work to sell for maybe the same margin that a bootload of, 10 to 20 pound items will net me. You've just got to work out what works for you. And
I mean, overall,
I've
when
never
you
said
say
what I do is right, it's what I end up doing.
I think overall, from my limited experience, I found that the hauls that you make, like the connections that you make, and the big job lot purchases have got to be the most efficient things, because you get a whole bunch of inventory in one go, and you can lock yourself away for weeks, if not months, sometimes, just listing without having to stop.
Yeah. Well, you think about it, it makes sense. I mean, just talking about time sink, how long it takes you, how many days you lose out of your year sourcing if you're going to car boot sales or sitting at auctions or bidding online or whatever you're doing. Whereas your haul you had recently, yeah, it was a lot of faffing around at the time. You took a couple of days out of your schedule to drive there and back twice, but that's done.
Yeah.
And then you are set up
for weeks.
You'll be listing for months.
yeah. I mean, there's still stuff
selling for years, but the payoff from that couple of days to find it all is, yeah, you're totally right. And we found out with the haul we had, the van load we had last year, that was because that was also way less product lines than you've got. That was, I don't know how many product lines, 10 to 15 max, and it was all listed within a week.
Yeah.
And then it's still paying us now.
See, in an ideal world, again, like you said, I mean, there are no ideal. I mean, ideally, we'd all find items like you said for tenner and flip them for 100. In an ideal world, we'll just hop from these. If I had my way, I suppose I'd hop from deal to deal. Then I wouldn't even need to worry about. I wouldn't need to worry about auctions. I wouldn't need to worry about charity shops. I wouldn't need to worry about boot sales because I'd just go out.
We'd just skip around in the meadow, and our phone would go off, and someone would say, would you like 1,000 of these that you can make £100 each on? And then we'd skip around and our phone would go off again. Wouldn't it be lovely?
Oh, yeah. Playing Ringa Ringa Rosies, waiting for the next deal. Yeah, I mean, that is a wonderful picture you paint there, Mr. Hills. I think I mean, that's the thing. I think it's the similar kind of naive thinking that I showed when I was like, I just want to sell expensive hi-fi, because it's so easy. I mean, just one of the items, guys, I pulled out of my shed was like a little combi video 8 thing. Within hours, it sold for 230 quid. It probably owes me nothing now, and ideally, you just have loads of stuff like that, wouldn't you? But you don't, and you won't. And it's naive to think that you will.
Deals are that good, and hence they are not common. They're not going to crop up every week. But if you can regularly go to decent auctions, you can find the good stuff. But again, you've got to invest the time, and you may not get the deals even if you sit there for hours on end. It's, as we said, if there was a solution to this, a simple solution to buying the right stock regularly, we'd just say, this is how you do it. There you go.
Yeah.
But I mean, there isn't no solution. And we're all in different places in the country. We all have different amounts of money to invest. We're all into different sorts of stuff. We all sell differently. So there isn't a solution, is there?
Don't you? You have to embrace all of it. Like, even if you're someone that loves auction, at some point you're going to have to concede that you may have to pop into a boot fair or a charity shop or buy a job lot deal that comes across. Or even if you're a charity shop fiend, at some points you're going to have to say, actually, I might be better off if I also pop into a car boot or a jumble sale or whatever. I think in a way, you're just smart to try to do as much as you can, because you don't know what's going to become available to you. You know, part of me was thinking that actually, if I widened my search area for stock, instead of me thinking look around like 50 miles or 100 miles, if I just said screw it, my search area is now the UK, surely I'll find deals regularly. And even then, it's not guaranteed. It just isn't. You can have a huge search area, but
Well,
if you're,
nothing at all is guaranteed in
yeah,
our game. This is the point, which is why you have to jump on the opportunity when it's there, because you don't know when the next one's coming anyway.
yeah, and I suppose even if all you do is car boots, I suppose this is where it pays to be like squirrels and just keep buying. Just keep buying and buying, even when you feel like you've got enough. Because I've made that mistake in the past where I felt like I've got enough stock and I've eased off buying, and then during the quiet months,
Well, we've been, apart
yeah,
from the odd jumble, we've been listing flat out. Well, not like we've been busting a gut, but we've been listing and hardly sourcing for now 3 or 4 months.
yeah,
And we've still got offices full of stuff.
exactly.
It's out there. Oh, I just want to. There was a strange. Karen Fisher said, "Question: Any apple wine in that tin, Nick?" And I can't, for the life of me, work out what tin you're talking about. Oh, that says apple white on it. If you mean that, it's a doll.
Applewhite.
There's no wine in here, unfortunately.
Peter Cummins says it's funny how big hauls come along. I watched Z's haul and thought that will never happen to me. 2 weeks later, I got a car full of Sylvanian at a boot fair. You just need to get in enough situations. Yeah, just put yourself into, completely put yourself out there in as many. Don't shut yourself off. Don't, like, it would be so easy for me to be like, you know what, that's it. I'm only going to look at hauls. I'm only going to deal in the big stuff now. I'm a big boy now. I'm only going to deal in large quantities. If I did that, I'd be losing out on so much stuff. I mean, if I did that, I wouldn't have been able to go into my local tip shop and pick up the Technic CD player and amp for a tenner, which are going to be making me over £100, or the ZX Spectrum that I picked up. You can't. You must keep your mind open to everything. Just be aware of these other options. It's not about what's better. It's about just being aware of these things, I think. Because I think, okay, some things are better than others, but like,
I think
yeah.
I'd add to that. It's not about what's better or what's best. It's about what's there.
Mm.
It comes down to what is in front of you on any given day, week, month. You know what I mean? We've all got a head full of stuff we'd love to find, and we can imagine it.
Yeah.
But you've only got the selection of what's in front of you. And unless you're going to take the lengths that Chad talks about and advertising to the world that you are waiting for stuff, and then it might come to you, you've got to go out looking for it, and you can only pick from what's there. But yeah, opportunists is what we are.
Definitely. All right, just going to scroll down the chat a little. Kirsten's Curiosity says, "Where's the fun on bidding online? I love auction days. My social life." That's a good point. It can be. It's very different. It is very, very different when you're there. It's just, you do get to know the regulars, you get to know the auctioneer, and when you go there sporadically, you feel like the outsider, because the auctioneer will often mention the regular buyers by their name, and yeah, and then you
Totally.
have to go and slot in, and it can be awkward. But you can easily do it.
I
You just
remember
have to buy stuff, and they'll love you. That's all it is.
beginning of this year when we said we're going to try and clear our backlog, and when we've done that, we're going to get back into auctions. It's like we're almost at Christmas and we still haven't cleared the backlog. So one of our plans this year was to get back into going to auctions, but hasn't happened. We'll chalk that one up for 2018.
Okay, I'm just going to scroll down. Right. People talking about Alan Sugar's face. Looks like someone dropped a cauliflower into a bag of iron filings. That's a bit harsh. Right. Oh yeah, you were way ahead of me with that apple wine in that tin comment from Karin.
Yeah, I'm at the bottom now.
Oh, you're at the bottom now. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Um, Ryan says UK is tiny. In the US, people travel 500 to 600 miles to get stuff. We have it easy here. See, that's such a good point. That does bring some perspective to it, doesn't it?
It is. And your comment earlier that maybe I should make the whole of the UK my area I'm sourcing. When you're talking the sort of deal that you had recently with the RC, that would be worth driving to Scotland and back for.
Yeah,
That would be worth going to the end of Cornwall for,
yeah,
because the amount of thousands you're going to make out of it. Yes, you should hire a van for 100 and you should spend a couple £100 on fuel or whatever it takes,
yeah,
because it's worth it. So yeah, it's a good point.
definitely. Um, True story, says Heather. I will drive 300 miles to Portland to source, says Heather. Wow, just to corroborate what doing it yourself lifestyle Ryan said. That is insane. But well, that's the thing. I mean, it is a perspective thing. It is a mentality thing. I mean, that's why I moved this far, because I kind of rationalized it to myself that it's not actually that far from where I'm from. I mean, I've only moved 230 miles. That's not that far. 230 miles, and I can be in London.
It felt a long way when I drove it. Damn it.
Yep.
Just throwing that out there.
Perspective, Nick. Perspective.
I'm grumpy when I'm driving.
Oh god, it can be a nightmare, but I think it is one of those things. Right. Where's Sib K these days, says BCP. Have you got him in your dungeon, Lisa Fen? Lisa's got a dungeon going on by the looks of it in the chat.
With Lonnie in it, no doubt.
Oh yeah, Lonnie's got to be in there, definitely. Celtic Traders, Caroline says, I enjoy traveling to source, but it is very time consuming. So yeah, that's the balance that you'd have to work out before you make a journey, I suppose. Graham Nichols says, I wonder if I could pick in Dubai and come back with used Mercedes. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure you could come back with plenty of supercars and whatever.
There's an interesting comment. I mean, Peter Ray said, Z, how's the exercise coming on? we're not ready to announce a little thing that's going to happen, but yeah, keep your eyes and ears peeled, because something relating to that is happening with not only Zahir and Beck, but myself and Andrea too. So yeah,
we're gonna plan something and we'll let you guys know. It's something cool.
It's gonna be crazy and exciting.
Should be fun. My Patcrat says 4,683 mile drive to London from where he is. And some of that would have to be on like an Aquamobile, like a James Bond type thing.
Yeah, or just drive into the back of the jumbo jet and drive off at the other end.
Oh yeah, you could.
Maybe.
Malinky says it took me 2 hours to get into Leeds this morning, and I live in Leeds. Oh gosh, that sounds horrible.
I don't miss commuting one moment. Oh dear. Andrew used to commute to Slough from here.
It can be pretty rough. It can be. That would be quite a long journey.
If my run to the post office lasts more than 10 minutes.
I've got to say, I have gotten very accustomed to like the lack of traffic now since being up here. It's like I do get agitated now when I'm in town traffic.
What was it like last time you drove down to your parents? Was that like,
do you know what? The whole journey is overall fine, because we tend to drive down at stupid times of night.
Of course, yeah.
Because I enjoy doing it that way. I prefer it. I like just the empty roads, etc. But yeah, the problem was when we timed it. For example, when we went to get all this stuff, which was also down in Croydon by my parents, we hit the M25 at morning rush hour, didn't we? So it was like we were so close, yet we were so far. we added like the last hour and a bit or two. It took horrible, absolutely horrible.
Joe's got his aquamobile fueled up and ready. He's
Oh,
coming.
he's
Come
coming.
round for a cup of tea, Joe. I'd love to see you.
Superb.
There's a guest coming in on what the exercise related news is. Peter Cummins, Nick and Z wrestling in sumo suits.
I wouldn't need a suit, but
I can't divulge whether that's close or not to what's
no, not really. It's not that. We can say it's not that.
okay. Okay, it's not. It's definitely not that.
Yeah. Westgate Primary says, just noticed where you lives are here. Hello from Lancaster. Oh, just up the road. Hi there, Westgate Primary. Right. They're going for a run around Z, says Graham Nichols. That's cold, Graham. But
Run
yes.
around Z.
Yeah. Oh gosh. Peter Cummins says that you get all the boy erasers on the Pearly Way at 3 a.m. Oh gosh, yeah. Wow. Comments coming in quick. Ryan says question time. Time is even question time is even people in a 9 to 5 or okay. Even people in a 9 to 5 waste 1, 2, 3 hours a day in traveling for work. So really it's 8 till 6 for most people. Jokers, we all waste time, lol. Okay, I barely made sense of that, Ryan, but I'm guessing it's just yeah.
I think we know what he's saying. Yeah, I mean, making the decision to come out of the rat race, that sort of time waste, sat in traffic for hours, getting to work and then getting home, and then you've got no time to spend, in my case at that time, a newborn. I was not seeing her, and when I was doing police work, I was doing shift work and I was doing night shifts, and it's just like,
I mean,
taking back control of my time was a big reason.
I think it is a valid point, because I mean, if you take it to the extreme of someone like Warren Buffett, he's made it quite publicly known that one of the best things he ever did was, like, he works about 10 minutes from where he lives. So this guy is like, was it the second or the wealthiest man in the world? Like, owns or runs Berkshire Hathaway's, like, the stock market god. And he's, for the last 50 years, he's had like a 10-minute drive, and he still lives in the house that he had like all those years ago, because he sees the time difference. And there's also that story of Mark Zuckerberg, that apparently the reason why he wears the same kind of clothes every day, it just takes that decision away from him. So he always wears like jeans and a whatever jumper or t-shirt. And it's like time saving. So he opens his cupboard and he's just got loads of the same outfit, so he doesn't have to think about what to wear today. So for him, that's like a time saving. Now, these could just be complete fabrications, which they probably are.
On that one, I just open the wardrobe and grab the nearest hoodie. I don't think about it. I just grab the next t-shirt that's on top of the pile. Mine are all different, so at least I'm,
You're just like Mark Zuckerberg.
Yeah, but he just wears the same outfit all the time.
Yeah, he's one
with different t-shirts.
Yeah, but he's minimizing any thought, so he can concentrate on whatever he does.
Yeah. But it's true though. I mean, time essentially is all we have, isn't it? When you break it down, time, without that, we've got nothing. So
yeah, make the most of it. EFS says, great chat, all heading to the airport for another flight. Sigh, talk soon. Actually, that brings us nicely then to the end, because it's 7:03. We've been on for over an hour already.
Wow.
Yeah. We can finish a couple more questions. We've got 130 people in the chat, so thank you everybody for joining us. Karen Fisher says, yeah, I have a friend that lives in Suffolk and works in London, spends a lot of time on the train. I mean, that's kind of sad when you think about it. If you add up all the time that you spend just commuting, it would add up to a significant amount of your life. Doing something as just mundane as just, that's horrible.
Radio too.
Lisa says, well done for starting on time tonight. Thank you very much. We are going to call it an evening there, I guess. So I think that'd be fine.
Well, let's end on that. Ryan's question there. What are your plans this week? What you're going to try and get achieved before next TAT Chat?
Oh gosh, God knows. Just list more, to be honest. I'm just going on a real listing spree, clearing more stuff out of the shed, and
Yeah.
yeah, just keeping every day productive. I've just been enjoying just the motivational thread on the TAT Chat group, and just
Yeah, I need
focusing, and
to get involved with that actually.
yeah,
Well, I'll be back on the
what,
eBay treadmill
yeah,
once this box here is off. My actual plan is to list all these consoles. I made the decision not to send any of the consoles, the retro ones, up to Amazon. So they're all going to go up to, well, not up to, but they're going to go on eBay.
on eBay.
So I'm going to have some fun cleaning and testing all of those. So yeah, that's my plan for the next week.
Yeah, I'm just gonna be doing more RC stuff basically. I think more and
Cool.
more RC stuff.
So yeah, reminder for those that have just joined us, we do have a guest show on Thursday, and it's going to be Pete Craigslist Hunter. Again, if you don't follow his channel, I urge you to go and check out. Just type in Craigslist Hunter; it'll come up. It's an epic guy. So yeah, he has agreed to come on. I'm excited.
Should be epic. Should be epic.
Totally.
Okay, guys. So thanks for watching. If you enjoyed it, please smash the thumbs up button. Leave a comment in the comment section to say what you thought of the chat. Always appreciate it. And we will see you guys later. As Nick said, Nick's going to be on the chat with Craigslist Hunter. It should be absolutely epic. Then Friday is going to be the chin wag again, and then on Sunday, Nick and Andrew will be back with
Yep.
their Sunday night.
We're taking
Chat.
over the week.
Yep. Okay, guys.
Thanks, E. Take care.
See you later.